Hello fans, collectors, investors. Welcome back to Iconic Baseball. Iconic Al here, and I am officially on the road from my hometown of Pittsburgh to the National in Cleveland, Ohio. What a great stay. I had a great time with family. I got to go to a game at PNC Park in which I watched Paul Skeens pitch another gem. 8 1/3 innings pitched, 2 earned runs, 8 strikeouts. He only allowed 4 hits to the Cardinals. And I think I'm one of the few people now that has the distinction of having witnessed in person his first Major League win at Wrigley Field, and now his first Major League loss. So despite his efforts, the Pirates did lose the game. So a little bit bittersweet, but it was amazing energy at the ballpark. It was amazing to see the excitement around Paul Skeens and around this Pirates team that seems to be, resurgent and maybe relevant now for the next few years. So I'm very optimistic about the trajectory of the Pirates franchise here. Anyway, on to Cleveland.
Out to the ball game, take me out with the crowd. Buy me some peanuts and cracker jack. I don't care if I never get back. Let me root for the home team. If they don't win, it's a shame. For it's 1, 2, 3 strikes, you're out at the old ball game.
Welcome back to Iconic Baseball. Iconic Al here. I just got back to Pittsburgh. I just opened a Yingling. So to those of you who I was able to connect with in Cleveland, cheers. To those of you who weren't able to make the trip, I will pour one out for you. But what an amazing experience it was. So many great pickups. I got to hang out with my best college buddy, Drew, and his whole family. Big shout out to Kate, to Will, to Joe, and to Claire. What an amazing time we had. Spent 2 nights at their place, got to play some wiffle ball, eat some steak, watch 61. It was just an amazing experience. So thank you for having me. It just made the trip complete. And then my own brother was there for his first national. Shout out to High Pop Professor Brian. And I got to walk around the show floor with him quite a bit during the course of the show. I was able to kind of help to broker a deal for a Gowdy Ruth. My buddy Drew was able to close the deal on a 1933 Gowdy Ruth. So that was amazing. We'll get into that a little bit later. But I am just elated and over the moon with how the whole experience went. Ran into Mookie Chilson, got to meet him for the first time. Greg from Midlife Cards, got to meet him for the first time. That was a thrill. I walked around the show floor with Dom of Staven Sports Cards and Scott of Ranger Studios and Adam of Vintage Sanctuary. Just got to rub elbows and hang out with so many in the community. And then the Thursday night get together was just, as usual, bonkers and so much fun. But without any further ado, on to the pickups. Okay, let's back it up here. Before the National, my brother and I stumbled across this amazing card shop in a mall near my parents' house called South Hills Village. And on the lower level, there was a card shop that had some pretty amazing finds. And the 2 things that I picked up were an 82 Donruss Ripken rookie. I already have this card, but for $15, I took this thing out of the case and looked it over pretty closely. And it's a very nearly perfect copy of this card. So probably a future grading candidate for $15. I mean, it's aesthetically my favorite Cal Ripken rookie card. So for $15, it seemed like a screaming buy. So that was my first pickup from that card shop. And then secondary pickup was an 87 Fleer Bo Jackson. Same idea. Very crisp. Couldn't find anything wrong with it for $5. So yeah, so those were 2 pickups I had at the local card shop at the mall. Very unexpected to find some, really what I consider screaming buys at the mall. So I picked up a Bo Jackson rookie and a Ripken rookie. And my brother bought a box of 1992 Fleer Jumbo packs. A nostalgic junk wax rip for us. So we had a great time opening up those packs. And among what we pulled were a few examples from the Fleer Provision set, which, again, minimal value, but nostalgia through the roof. Ripken, Dave Justice, there he is holding literally a tomahawk. And then you have Cal Ripken with 2130 behind him years before he would break the record. So a great foreshadowing of the Gehrig record that he would eventually break. So 3 years before he would end up breaking the record, there he is posing on this Fleer Provisions card with that iconic number behind him, which, I always loved this card because of that. So we'll put that right beside Ripken there. Justice was a player that I player collected in my younger days. And then last but certainly not least, you have this amazing Frank Thomas Provisions with literally dynamite in his bat. I mean, that's such a cool card. This is a great example of a card that, carries essentially no monetary value, but I will certainly keep in my binder of nostalgic cards from my childhood. And these we re-pulled from some packs this past week. So awesome ads that brought me a lot of joy. And then last but not least, a rookie sensation Bagwell was kind of the big hit from that box that we pulled. So yeah, that was kind of a chase card back in the day. The Bagwell and the Frank Thomas were kind of the two big hits from that rookie sensation set. But yeah, just a beautiful rookie sensations Jeff Bagwell. And he was definitely a hot prospect. He was the guy you were after. Him and Thomas and Griffey were kind of the three big hits back in the day. So those all came from that card shop that we hit before the National. And then we went to the Pirate game, saw Skeens pitch, and for many years, I know Manny Sanguillen mans the barbecue joint in left field, and I've always been meaning to bring a card for Manny to sign, and I did it this year. So I brought an 81 Fleer, I believe that's an 81 Fleer. That's another Andy Van Slyke card that I picked up. But yeah, this is an 81 Fleer Manny Sanguillen, and I had the honor of meeting Mr. Sanguillen a few days ago, shaking his hand, and I said, Mr. Sanguillen, and he just turned 80 years old, by the way, would you bless this with your autograph? And he looked me square in the eye and said, I would be honored to bless this with my autograph. And so he signed, God bless, Manny Sanguillen across this card. So that was amazing. So I got to meet a three-time All-Star catcher for the Pirates and two-time World Series champion Manny Sanguillen at the Pirate game last week. And that was during the game that Paul Skeens started. So all these cards kind of came from the pre-national period here. So a bunch of nostalgic ads, some junk wax ads, and a meaningful Pirate autograph added to my collection. So that sort of rolls us into the national pickups. So I'll clear the deck here. And let's address the elephant in the room. First, these magnificent card stands that many of us picked up at the National. These are beautiful, wormy maple custom card stands created by the Drew, a vintage legacy. Really solid construction, really amazing. And I will be using these on my videos going forward because they're beautiful. Big upgrade from the Office Depot cheap plastic stands that I had been using. So thank you, Drew, for providing these. Big upgrade, and I love them, so thank you. All right, so let's go into the national pickups here. On Thursday, which is generally my buying day, I usually do 75% of my buying on Thursday, the day that I get there. And this was no exception. I usually try to get my first big pickup done first. Then I know what kind of budget I have to work with after that. So this year, I was targeting a big autograph from either Cy Young, Walter Johnson, or Grover Alexander. And I was successful in picking up a Cy Young autograph this year. So this is my glorious example of Cy Young's autograph. And it's on, very delicate here, the JSA and PSA authenticated letter, a fan letter. He was sent this letter, presumably in the early 50s. And I read, "Dear Mr. Young, for some time I have enjoyed reading about you in the various sports magazines. Someday I hope to perhaps see you in person. I got your address from a club I belong to called Signature Seekers. I hope you don't mind my writing to you. In case you haven't guessed, by now I have a very nice autograph collection. Some say it is one of the finest in the state of Arizona. I am indeed proud of it. Recently I have fallen behind on my collecting due to school and my job. Would you please send me your signature or a small autographed picture of yourself and help me to renew my interest in a very pleasant hobby? I am enclosing a stamp for your reply, as I realize that answering many such requests could run into money. Thank you very much and best wishes for everything. Sincerely, Bob Turner." And it's Peoria, Arizona, on Bob Turner's stationery. And on the very back of this letter, this very same letter, is where you find a beautiful Cy Young autograph. And I need to measure this out, but it does look like it would probably measure to right around 3x5. So what I plan on doing is scanning the content of this letter so I have that on file and I can store it with the autograph, and then getting this slabbed up in a 3x5 size, preserving the letter as it is, but then having it in a more, uniform 3x5 size, which is the size that most of my high-level autographs are in. So I think that's right around a 3x5 size. I'll have to measure that to be sure, but that was my big pickup for this year at the National. It came from a company called Best Authentics, a very reputable dealer. So that was a huge ad. I got it much cheaper than I had anticipated, so that left me quite a bit more budget to work with as I continued through the rest of the day on Thursday and Friday. But the Cy Young was the big boy, and that left me some room to do some additional shopping. So there's that. And let's go now, starting from earliest to more recent cards. The first card that I'll show is a pre-war card, and it is a strip card. 1920 W522 Christy Mathewson hand cut. And I was not specifically looking for this card. I was not specifically looking for Christy Mathewson. But when I saw this card and I saw the price point, it was one of those cards where you stumble across it and you're like, wow, I need to buy this. It was marked at $375 and I got the dealer down to $325. So for $325, it's a period 1920 Christy Mathewson strip card that is very well presenting. PSA has graded 6 of them. I looked at SGC's Pop, they have also graded 6. So there are 12 graded copies in existence of this card, which I think is pretty cool. A card that not many people have. Very clean back, standard blank back strip card, a nice image of Mathewson, I think. More of a photographic image versus the line caricature variety. So really nice. I'm very happy with this. I'm kind of trying to pick up a few Mathewsons because I don't anticipate ever being able to own a Mathewson autograph due to the price that Mathewson autographs are commanding. At this point, they're 5 figures. And so I may just own a few Mathewson cards to kind of make up for likely never being able to own a Mathewson autograph. So that is the earliest card that I picked up, the oldest card. Next up was a card that I was specifically targeting at this year's National, the 51 Bowman Roy Campanella. I think the greatest, maybe the greatest catching image ever in the sports card hobby. And the reason I was really targeting this, aside from it being the greatest catching image in sports card hobby, was I already had this card that I had showed before, the 52 Wheaties, which features the very same image, and I wanted that double take in my collection. the pairing of the 51 Bowman and the 52 Wheaties, which I just love it. So now that pairing is complete. This is a really nice 2, presents really well, beautiful image quality. No staining on the back. It's a very clean 2. Pretty much exactly what I was looking for. It wasn't wanting anything high grade. Didn't need anything high grade, just a copy that presented well, that I could put next to my Wheaties. So we will display those side by side. Next up, the 53 Bowman Stan Musial, another card that I was targeting. Shout out to Don's Field of Dreams. Man, this is just the quintessential smiling Stan Musial pose. One that I really wanted to find this year, and this 3 showed up, and the centering was right, the eye appeal was right, and the price was right. So not much else to say there besides that was a slam dunk. I think it was 300 bucks, and I didn't have to think very hard. I just went ahead and bought it. So 53 Bowman color Stan Musial, one of his most aesthetically pleasing cards mid-career, and yeah, I love having it. All right, so those are the 3 earliest cards that I picked up. This one I already had. Next up, we have the 56 Topps Whiteback Clemente, one that I've been after for a little while. I don't own a 50s Clemente card, an early career Clemente example, and now I do. So really well centered, really clean. In fact, we were joking about this at the Content Creators Get Together. It has this PWCC sticker on the back, which means, of course, that it has great eye appeal. And that was the clincher for me, because if PWCC thinks it's high eye appeal, then clearly that's a reason to buy it. I kid. But yeah, it is a high eye appeal example. I didn't even notice that sticker was there until after I bought it, full disclosure, but yeah, the centering is right. It just looks beautiful. I like this image more than even his rookie card, because I have this original newspaper clipping from my grandma's attic that I cut out because I love this image so much that I cut this newspaper clipping out, and you can see it's the very same leaping image from the 56 Topps card. And so I've sort of been enamored with this card because of that. I've always loved that leaping image of Clemente, and the fact that, you know, it was in a wire photo back in the 50s. It found its way onto his second year card, and now they're paired together in my collection. Beautiful color, and you know, as a Pirates fan, he is royalty. So very happy to add that and round out my Clemente collection with an early career example. All right, so I would say those are the true vintage cards that I acquired at the show this year. Very successful, and I'm very happy with those. So let's clear it and move it to the modern era. All right, modern era cards. These were some cards that I did not anticipate buying, but this is the nature of the National. An 87 Bellingham Mariners, Ken Griffey Jr. This was his first professional release. The earliest card that Ken Griffey Jr. has as a professional player was the 87 Bellingham Mariners card. And this happens to be a card that is graded an 8 with a 9 auto on it for Ken Griffey Jr. So again, I stumble across this. It's not something that I see. And being a kid of the 90s, I'm a sucker for Ken Griffey Jr. So I had to pull the trigger when I saw it. So pulled that. And along those same lines, Pedro Martinez, his first professional card was in 1990, again predating his rookie card, much like the Griffey. Sport Pro, his very first issue as a professional with an auto on it. So this is graded a 9 with a 10 auto. And this is, again, Pedro Martinez's first professional issue with the Great Falls Dodgers. And again, I checked the pop on this using the QR code, and the pop is 4. So in terms of how many of these have been graded at this condition, dual graded at these levels, there are only 4 with 0 higher. So that gives you an idea of the scarcity and how, rare this card actually is in this grade. So I'm thrilled to add a scarce early Pedro, much like this Griffey, which I don't think I showed the back of this Griffey. So I'll show the back of this Griffey. Not quite as scarce as the Pedro, but one you just don't see. You see a lot of the standard Griffey rookie cards signed. They're getting kind of saturated in the market, but you just don't see the 87 Bellingham Mariners Griffey. And so I'm thrilled to add it. All right, and along those same lines, nostalgia from when I was a kid, the 1994 Super Nintendo Ken Griffey Jr. This is actually packaged in the video game itself. And I remember, my friend had this video game, and I remember the card coming out of the box, and it just carries a mystique, I think, to the 90s. And to have this card in high grade, this is a 9. There aren't many of these graded, and there aren't many of these graded highly. So to have this, quintessential Super Nintendo 94, this is like pop culture. It's a crossover type of appeal to the video gamers as well, but just hits that, nostalgia from sleepovers, playing Nintendo, just amazing. And for 70 bucks, I had to pull the trigger there. Again, not one that I was looking for, but let's call it an impulse purchase, but that's kind of what makes the National fun. And then let's keep it consistent here with Ken Griffey Jr. The last impulse purchase for Griffey, actually no, second to last impulse purchase for Griffey is this one right here, the 98 Bowman Chrome International Refractor. Just a beautiful, I probably don't have the right light here to show the shine in its full glory, but this is such a pretty card. Very shiny, very, very scarce. In this grade, it's a 9. This is the year before they started numbering these, so it is not numbered, but there are not many on the pop report. And it's cool because it kind of shows an area where he's from, which is, it shows Cleveland in the background. He's from Denora, Pennsylvania, as we all know, which is also where Stan Musial is from. But I like how there's the road map in the background, kind of bringing it all home, I got this at the Cleveland National. There's Cleveland, Pittsburgh, Denora. It's all in the background there. So I kind of like that, how it's a little roadmap of, well, more or less where I'm from. So one more nostalgic Griffey piece right there to add to my 90s refractor collection. And let's take out Pedro here because I have one other Griffey piece that kind of completes this quartet of Griffey pieces. And this is none other than the 93 SP buyback. Actually came out in 2001, but it's a 93 SP buyback Griffey auto, which I never expected to see this at the show. I have the 94, 95, and 96 Griffey SP buybacks. I never thought I would own the 93 buyback because it is numbered to 34, and it is quite a bit more expensive than the other Griffey buybacks. And the deal that I found this at, I had the money left in my budget, I had the flexibility left, and I never thought that I'd have the opportunity to buy this card. And I'm so excited to have it, to add it to my Griffey SP buyback run, which is now complete as I see it. I get the 93, 94, 95, and 96 buybacks for Ken Griffey Jr. They're all very low numbered. This one happens to be graded authentic with an auto 9, which is amazing. I'm in the process of grading my other Griffey buybacks to match this, and I couldn't be happier to have this leaping pose of Griffey, this iconic first year of SP, the same set as Jeter. I mean, I love this card. And again, the light probably isn't doing it justice, but it really is a beautiful card and a beautiful autograph, and really nice example of that early sort of premium set design. And there we have the 4 Griffies, which I did not expect to add 4 Ken Griffey Jr. cards at the National this year, but there they are. I added 4 Ken Griffey Jr. cards, 2 of them autos, at the National this year. So there they are. All right, let's clear Griffey and move on to some other modern stuff. One is a nostalgic ad, which was a 1997 Bowman Chrome International, Sean Casey, which he grew up down the street from where I'm sitting right now. A guy that we met many times, and he gave us rides back home from the ballpark a few times and signed every card that we ever wanted signed, and he couldn't have been nicer to us as kids in middle school. And here, I just saw this at a booth. It was a set break. Someone had collected the entire set of this International Refractor set, and my brother and I looked through a stack hoping maybe there would be a Sean Casey in there, and sure enough, Sean Casey was in there. So this was, I think, $35, but a really great nostalgic ad. And where else am I going to find a Sean Casey International Refractor in a 9? And so that's going in my nostalgia collection, and also is going to help with my refractor run, a video that I will make shortly. And then along those lines, the 98 Donruss signature Millennium of Cal Ripken, the guy that I player collected through middle school and high school. This was a grail card, and to have this in a 910, this may be the highest graded example in the world. There may be no graded examples higher than a 9 with a 10 auto. This was numbered. He only signed 375 of these. So this was not, he did not sign the full 1,000 Millenniums. He only signed 375 of these. But with a 9 grade, with a 10 auto, it probably is the highest graded example in existence. And for $200, I couldn't pass it up. It's just such a pretty card and so condition sensitive. It was a no-brainer. You know, it spoke to me. All right, and then I have 2 cards left. I have the 2001 Ichiro Pujols Traded Chrome, which is one that I was specifically targeting at this year's National, and I got it in the 9, like I was looking for. And yeah, just so happy to add this card because of how important it is, how important it will be. 2 first ballot Hall of Famers occupying the same rookie card. I mean, it's the first time that's ever happened, probably the first time that will ever happen, is 2 first ballot Hall of Famers on the same rookie card. Ichiro will be elected next year, and that will, I think, stoke additional interest in this card, which is from a period that was not highly printed. I think it is a lull in the hobby. It is a card that will continue to see great price growth into the future. So very happy to have this Ichiro Pujols in a 9. And then the most modern card that I picked up was the 2005 Topps First Edition Justin Verlander. And at first glance, you think, oh, this is just a base Topps, but that little first here in the corner designates that as a much rarer card. I think the base Topps, there's probably 5,000 graded, somewhere in that range, of this base Topps Verlander, and of the first edition, there's just over 100 graded. So very, very, very scarce compared to his base Topps. And I got this for basically a base price. So I think whoever had this out in a showcase maybe didn't know what it was or didn't know how to price it, because there aren't many comps for this card. And like $150 isn't too far off what the base Topps would go for. So I suspect maybe just someone was misinformed, didn't know what they had. But I think this first edition is pretty special. And I love the fact that this guy might be the first 300 game winner. And I have a very limited parallel of his rookie card. So yeah, this is the first year he had professional cards, 2005, and it's a quite limited parallel. So there it is, Justin Verlander, first edition. Okay, I'll call this section potpourri. Random cards that I got, either, content creators, things I was given, and I'll just show those real quick here. First off, High Pop Professor, my own brother. He was nice enough to give me a card that was numbered number 1 out of 50. So he only signed a numbered 50 of these, and he was kind enough to give me number 1. So I have the distinction of having number 1 out of 50 of Brian, High Pop Professor's very first content creator card. So thank you, Brian, for doing that. This is one that I'll cherish in my content creator custom card collection. So thank you very much. It means a lot coming from my own brother. And I'm happy to have you in this community, as I'm sure everyone else is too. And it was great to have you at the event. It was great to have you at the show, to walk around with you and kind of reminisce about certain cards and certain players. And it was just a joy that I'd never experienced until this year. Next up, Jake, Legends Never Die, gifted me a beautiful, I think this is a 53. Yeah, 53 Redman Tobacco card of a pirate. It was a pirate that I actually wasn't aware of, Murray Dixon. Not one that I had heard of before, but really cool to have a legit Redman Tobacco Pirates card with the tap. I don't have a card with the tap. I have a Larry Doby without the tap, but I don't have any Redman card that still has the tab on it. So that's pretty cool. Kind of scratches that type collector itch within me. So that's awesome. Thank you, Jake. That was very thoughtful. I ran into John, Wade Boggs fan, and I now have the complete run of John, Wade Boggs fan autographed cards, customs. So like, it's not a year at the National if you don't run into John and get his custom. So I'm very happy to have that. Add that to the YouTuber custom pile here. And along those same lines, John, 3D80s kid, got his custom. Shout out to you. That's signed and numbered out of, I believe, 99. It's a red ink auto, very exclusive. So thank you, John, for doing that. And we'll keep going here. Sammy Thunder with the lightning bolt. He asked me, do you want the lightning bolt? And I was like, of course I want the lightning bolt. I mean, that's kind of his trademark, claim to fame. Sammy Thunder gave me a sticker too, but this is the Transagram inspired Sammy Thunder card from this year's National. Very thankful to own that. And then we'll just keep going. From Tony, AKA TJ is online. He wrote me a very nice inscription in this. I asked him to sign it, but he didn't have to do that. He said, Al, thank you for helping to bring me out of my shell, Tony. Because he actually, on my VR, his first video on YouTube was for my VR. So very thankful that he got onto YouTube, because he has a phenomenal collection and he's a great hobbyist, and he's one of those guys who's been in the hobby a long time, but just recently made the leap to YouTube. So if you're not aware, check out TJ is online, and you won't regret it, because he's got a great collection and great dude. And thank you so much for creating this custom of you as a young child and signing this really nice inscription to me. So thank you very much. It will be in my treasured collection of content creator cards. And then, so Scott, Reindeer Studios, made a few customs, as he always does. This year it was Bryce Harper. It was Don Mossy, of course. And most notably to me this year, this Campanella image, which really ties everything together. So you have this Campanella image, which goes right along with my Campanella ad from this year. And of course the Wheaties that I already had. So we have a triple take here between Scott's rendering. You have the 51 Bowman and you have 52 Wheaties. And so, yeah, my heart is full. My life is complete. I have 3 copies of this image, which I love so much. So thank you, Scott, for being you, and also for helping out with my customs this year. I don't have one handy, but those of you who went to the National saw my T205 custom, and that was all Scott. So thank you, sir, for making my custom as great as it was. I've never been so excited to hand out customs to this point. So thank you for doing that. All right, I mean, this National it exceeded all expectations. It was amazing. Thank you to everyone that stopped and talked to me, that hung out, that shared their pickups with me, that looked at my pickups. As it is every year, it was just a whirlwind. It was unbelievably fulfilling as a collector to go in and get something really special for my collection, especially something related to Cleveland. the greatest pitcher in Cleveland history, arguably the greatest pitcher in baseball history, at the Cleveland National. It was amazing, and I'll never forget it. All right, well, that's kind of my recap. I can't think of anything else I need to share except for how grateful I am to this community and how much I love this hobby. And until next time, keep collecting and stay iconic.